Morning. This is your girl, Essie. I hope you guys are having a wonderful day. I hope you had a good weekend, and I hope that, the week that is ahead of you, you've planned out. I hope that you are looking forward to the week. I know that this channel is basically dedicated to caregivers and those who are providing services of care. And so I want to say good morning to you guys because for many of us, it's the beginning of the work week. It is when we actually have to sit down and start focusing on our patient and their needs if you haven't been off on the weekend. And if you are a family caregiver like myself, your week never ends, right? You're constantly on call or constantly on the go. And so this week, today, what I'd like to do is focus on the needs of the caregiver. I have obviously sent out and released a video series about the caregiver and when they actually need care. It's Monday morning. Your girl tired. Let's be real. Your girl is trying to get herself together this Monday morning. And so one of the things that I'd want to focus on and go into a deep dive is how we as caregivers take care of ourselves. And so sometimes that's not easy when we have to admit, you know what? I'm having a bad day. And this day can transform to a longer bad day. And it definitely is going to impact my patient. And so that's what we're going to go into and conversate about today. But then that's what I planned. How about that? That's what I planned to talk about. But you guys know the engagement can take us anywhere. So let's try to see where we're going to head off today and see what we're going to talk about today and talk about what we did this weekend, as well as how, we're going to motivate ourselves and stay encouraged to keep moving forward. I usually start off on Mondays with a motivational thought and saying, and so there's a video about this as well, but let's just get right into it. And so people pop on. Once again, happy Monday to you. Thank you for joining this morning. Thank you also for getting up and doing a live with me because I know many of you all are getting ready or many of you all are coming back from the weekend. And so thank you so much for joining me for the live. I forgive myself for not having all the answers. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday, Louise. Happy Monday to everyone who jumped on. Hello, Ramen. Good morning. And so we're talking about the caregiving services and how we can impact ourselves if we don't take time for ourselves. And so you guys, as you come on, good morning. Also, give me some likes, see how the week is going, and let's get into what we're going to talk about. Hello, Robinson. Good morning. Happy Monday to you guys. And so I forgive myself. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I forgive myself for not having all of the answers. I'm not going to have all the answers. I'm not going to be able to say what I feel and do what I feel. Now, I'm going to have to put somebody in timeout. Just hold on for a minute because sometimes we have kids that jump on here. Good morning, Narish. How are you? And so what happens is we have to forgive ourselves for not knowing all the answers when we're taking care of someone. We don't know everything. We don't know sometimes how to make them feel better. And so as a caregiver, that can be a little bit daunting, which is what we're talking about, how that impacts us. We don't have the answers. And so we cannot, thank you. Hello, good morning, Carl. We cannot sit there and blame ourselves if we don't have the answers to everybody's problems. Thank you, Narish. And so sometimes it impacts us as caregivers because we feel like we should have the answers. If my patient is not feeling well, then I want to make sure I have all the answers. And so you don't understand sometimes how that will impact your mood if you as a caregiver can't provide the answers. And so let me just go ahead and put people in time out because that's not what we're here for this morning, right? We're here to talk about caregiving services and also how we can help everyone. Good morning to everyone who just jumped on. Thank you for joining the live this morning. Once again, this channel is dedicated to caregiving services and encouraging our caregivers to keep going. Now, do you think you're not a caregiver? Well, guess again. If you're taking care of elderly parents, if you are taking care of children and you're a parent, guess what? You're a caregiver, right? And so it really impacts all of us to know how we can assist everybody, how we can assist other people when we give them care. And so as a caregiver, you're not going to have all the answers. Good morning to everyone who jumped on. Welcome to the live. Those of you guys who have been on my live before, thank you for jumping on and thank you for participating this morning. The one thing though that I really learned and what really hit home for me this weekend is that sometimes as a caregiver, you're not going to be able to provide care. Sometimes as a caregiver, you have to sit down and you have to get yourself together and you have to take care of yourself. Thank you, Sharma, for the compliment. I do have a big forehead. Guys, get over it because it's mine and I love it. So, therefore, let's get right back into what we're talking about. Sometimes you're not going to feel well. You're going to have people that will say negative things to you as if it really matters in life, right? People are always going to talk and say stupid things. And so what we do is we keep on moving forward. We have bad days. We have days where, we're not going to be able to get ourselves together. As a caregiver, how are you, Adil Khan? Hello, Shager. How are you all? Sometimes, as a caregiver, we have to sit down and buy out time for ourselves. Okay, we have to do that because that is what helps us to take care of other people. Good morning, Bonga. Good morning, everyone who's hopping on. Thank you so much. Tap the screen and give me some likes as we transition into caregiving services and how that helps us. But today I want to focus on the actual caregiver. Today I want to focus on what that means to take care of yourself. So, guys, this weekend, I don't know what I ate, but I can tell you it upset my stomach. I'm here in the US. We have a variety of different food restaurants in the area. So I did go to different restaurants, try out some different things. I went produce shopping with my daughter, my youngest daughter, and I don't know what I got a hold of, but I was sick. But I'm going to tell you what really upset me this weekend. When I, as the caregiver, provide services to other people to make sure that they're okay. And no one turns around and asks how the caregiver is. It could be very, very upsetting. And so, the one thing that we have to do, even when we're a caregiver, is to get ourselves together and realize that we got to continue to push through. But there are some emotional barriers that we have to overcome when we feel like we're not getting the care and attention that we deserve as caregivers. And even though you don't go around and okay, I'm going, okay, Adele, let me tell you, I am married, happily married. I am a Niger wife. My husband and I are very, very happily married. I'm not looking for a husband. I'm on here to talk about caregiving services and how that helps. And yes, for those people in Texas, I'm so sorry to hear about what they're going through. I was watching the news this morning, and those people have been really, really really, really impacted. So, you guys, if anybody's from Texas, please take care of yourself and please drop some encouraging comments in the chat for those who are in Texas and what they're enduring. So, when you're a caregiver, you can have an emotionally bad day, right? You can have periods where you don't really want to provide services because you're off kilter. Let's talk about, even though I did some videos on this, let's talk about some emotional signs. You're extra irritated. And once again, good morning, happy Wednesday for everybody jumping on. I really appreciate you guys joining me this morning. You're really, really, really um, having an emotionally bad day. You're upset as a caregiver. Sometimes you need to understand your emotions and you have to understand how you're feeling in order to be able to process and help somebody else. Belinda, good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope you had a great weekend. And yes, people in Texas, drop some encouraging comments in for those who are impacted here in the states in Texas and what they're enduring. Welcome and good morning. Happy Monday to everybody. Let's get this week starting. But the one thing we're talking about once again is how to address your needs as a caregiver. Sometimes, and I did a video series, obviously that's been dropping. Sometimes as a caregiver, people don't know what we need, right? And so sometimes we have to be able to communicate that and we have to be able to express to them how we're feeling. And that can be difficult sometimes, especially if you're used to being the strong one. So here, there's some signs that we want to deep dive into. And so just let me just put somebody else in time out. Okay. And so here are some signs that we want to really pay attention to when we, as caregivers, are having a bad day, because you don't want that to run off onto your patient who you're providing care to, right? And so, one of the things, thank you so much, Belinda. You are awesome, guys. She's saying double tap the screen. Thank you for your support. Emotional. I'm emotional today. I can cry at the drop of a hat if I'm emotional, right? I get worked up, I'm upset. Everything will make me cry. You have days like that, especially, let's be real, women, sisters. We have days like that, right? Where we're really hormonal, really, really emotional, and we're giving care to everybody. but are you taking care of yourself? You have to. You have to. There's a sign that maybe you need to step away for a moment, gather yourself. Sometimes, let me tell you something, ladies, sometimes you just got to have a cry. And I know that may seem surprising for me to say. Sometimes you get so emotionally worked up, and some of it could be hormonal, right? As a caregiver, let's be honest with each other. And so, what you have to do is have that cry, let it out of your system. You're an emotional person at this moment, even though you may not always feel that way. It's okay to let that emotion out and to really, really, sometimes when you suppress things so long, guess what? It's going to come out eventually. And so when you have an emotionally bad day, you have to recognize that and keep on moving. What about if you're sad? You know, there are things that impact us in our lives too as caregivers where we're sitting there and we're like, you know what? I don't even know why I'm upset. I don't even know what's affecting me, but I'm sad. I'm feeling down. The situation is really, really impacting me, right? And so I literally sometimes realize that I'm sad. And how do you think that impacts your patient? How do you think it impacts them? They're already sad. They're not having a good day. They're experiencing difficulty as well. And so you want to make sure that you, as a caregiver, you recognize that your sadness, your emotions, how you're feeling, unfortunately, thank you so much, Chagall. Thank you so much. Now, everything, this station, what we're talking about today, is giving caregiving advice. And so, if you're getting into college, I say buckle down and do your best. Select your major and then select something that you truly love and keep it moving. That's what you got to do. You already know what you want to do. It's time for you to make some life altering decisions. Do that. Buckle down, hunker down. Know you got to bite the bullet for the next, 4 years or how many years you're going to be in college and keep it moving. And do a profession that you love because that's what you want to do. You want to get into something that you really, really love because that's how you're going to be passionate about it. Do something that drives your passion. And so let's get back into caregiving. That's all the advice I got for you. There are some decisions, like I tell my young people, you're going to have to make on your own. I can give you guidance, but some life experiences are better when you learn to make good decisions for yourself as a young person. And so much kudos to you. I think you're going to be awesome. Okay. Good morning once again. Happy Monday to everybody. Happy Monday for those who are jumping on. Once again, we're talking about some signs that we as caregivers experience when we are dealing with stress, when we are dealing with problems, and we don't have anyone really there to support ourselves. We have to make sure that we are recognizing when we're having an emotional bad day. Shout out to Tristan. Good morning. Thank you guys for joining so much this morning. What about when you're physically tired? You all ever get physically tired and mental tiredness sometimes can also assist with us being physically tired. So if you ever are that type of person, you get really, really emotional, you're mentally exhausted, then you start feeling physically tired. Now, as a caregiver, the backlash is a lot of times, thank you. Hi, Tristan, thank you so much. A lot of times the backlash of being mentally and emotionally tired is that when it translates and transfers into you being physically tired, how is your patient going to receive care? And so there are times when we keep on going, we're moving, 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 and we haven't taken the time to get the appropriate rest. Now, if you're like me, a lot of us, we really don't spend 8 hours of sleep a night. I don't get 8 hours of sleep. I just don't. My body doesn't let me. I wake up during intervals of the night. I wake up during intervals of the night. Thank you so much, Skin Yath. I really appreciate your comments and your compliments. I really appreciate it. And so you get 9 hours, well, you good. Because with everything that's going on in my mind, I don't get 8 hours of sleep. But if I'm physically exhausted, I can't give that proper care to my mom, who I'm providing caregiving services to. And so recognizing, you know what? I'm drained because I have not had enough sleep. I am trying to get myself together physically so that I can keep moving throughout the day. I got chores. Many of you guys who have been on my live on Mondays know today is laundry day, right? I also thank you so much, Rampage. Thank you so much for those who have joined. I really appreciate it. Monday is chore day for me, or one of the many, right? So I've got some, I look like I need some caregiving service. Well, you know what? I'll tell you one thing. When I need care, my husband will take care of that. And then will help me. Okay. And so I don't really need caregiving services, but I do provide that for my mom who is immobile and who has issues and needs caregiving services. But when I'm physically tired, when I can't function throughout the day because I haven't gotten my 8 hours, 9 hours of sleep, which I very rarely get, you know what? I got to keep moving. But I also have to recognize that that's the moment that I need to reassess why I'm having a bad day. Is it, let's see. So sometimes, guys, wait a minute. I'm going to put somebody else in timeout. Okay. All right. Thank you guys so much for your support. I really appreciate it. You know, when you do lives, you get all kinds of people on. And so if you guys look at some of the comments, you have to laugh, right? You have to laugh. So it's just, it's really, really sad though that people like to come on. I'm just putting people in timeout, guys. I'm so sorry about that. And so what you have to do is realize that you all, that we as caregivers, we need that rest. And thank you so much, Umesh. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you guys' compliments and really your tuning on for the live this morning. Now, sometimes when you're physically tired, it translates into stress headaches, right? Your body is tense and you're so worked up because you have had a difficult day. You are already emotionally having a bad day. I am so tight and irritated. And so sometimes you get a stress headache. Thank you so much, Umesh. You get a stress headache. You, as a caregiver, how are you functioning throughout the day? How are you providing those services if physically you are drained, if emotionally you are drained? When you feel stressed, that does impact different areas of your life. Do you realize that, Skinny? Yeah, thank you so much. When you are stressed, it impacts other areas of your life. It does. And so as a caregiver, how can I not make sure that I'm not transferring that on to the person that's receiving care? How do I make sure that I am not hurting the person that's receiving care? Very hard to do. What it takes is for us to take an assessment of what we have and the day that we're having. Just like you come in, and if you're like me, when the day starts for my mom, it's usually around the afternoon. I have the mornings to kind of clean up and get some things situated. I've got stuff pulled out for dinner that I'm going to cook if I need to cook dinner. I've got household chores. I work from home, so I have things already planned out. And so what I do is when she wakes up, I start to assess her mood. I start to assess, are we going to have a good day? Are we going to have a bad day? Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Welcome and happy Monday to everybody. Is she going to have a bad day? What kind of day is this going to be? Well, you know what? As a caregiver, you got to do the same thing for yourself. You do. Am I going to have a bad day? Is this going to be a good experience for me today? What's going to rub me the wrong way? And so, thank you, Heaven on Earth. I really appreciate the comment. And so, what happens is you have to assess what kind of day you're going to have. We spend so much time taking care of other people. The whole point of today's, live is to talk about taking care of yourself. It's a horrible thing when you're taking care of other people to look around and no one's there for you, right? No one's there to take care of you because you've expended so much time in caring for the needs of other people that you haven't taken time to invest in yourself and take care of yourself. And so what happens is I just really understand that it's so important for you as a caregiver to really, really assess what kind of day you're having when you get up before you begin your care. See what you're going to do. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate all your compliments. I got my coffee over here. Y'all know, look, let me tell you something. Y'all know I don't drink the coffee during the live, but yeah, I'm going to get some caffeine and I'm going to take a sip before I begin on my next session. So therefore, trust me, I'm going to get hydrated. And I'm going to tell you something else. I've already had like 32 ounces of water this morning because when I get up, I drink like 2 bottled waters back to back. That's just me because that's what my body needs. And so I'm already hydrated, believe it or not. But when I talk for a long period of time, clearly Clearly, I need something else, right? And so the stream is about caregiving and caregiving services, frozen noodles. If you think that you are not a caregiver, if you're taking care of an elderly parent, taking care of a relative that or a friend who is sick, what about if you're a parent? If you're a parent, you are a caregiver, believe it or not. And so sometimes we got to sit and assess what kind of mood we're in. And that's where we are as far as recognizing when you're having a bad day. Because you know what? We all have them. We all have them, and it's okay. What about when you're avoiding the responsibility of providing care to someone? That avoidance can help you to appreciate, you know what, I'm not giving my full self into caregiving right now. I'm procrastinating. I'm ready to get off work. I'm watching the clock. I really don't feel like providing care services today. I'm a caregiver and my heart's not in it today because I'm avoiding the responsibilities. And so, what helps us to appreciate that we need to step back, assess ourselves emotionally, is recognizing that our heart's not in. We're not dedicated today. You're going to have days, and I think this is true in every profession. You're going to have days where you just can't give your all. You don't feel like it today. There is a distraction, and that can also help. I've never been to India, but I am a fan of Bollywood movies. I'm gonna be honest about that. And so I've never been to India. I love some of the spices that I've had. I have eaten at Indian restaurants that are local in the area. So Province, I hope that answers your question. And so once again, getting back into how we as caregivers feel, some days you are distracted. True in any profession. If you don't believe me, how many of us have gotten up? We know that we have a project due. We know we got to get to work. You just don't feel like it. You just don't feel like it. You want to avoid you're tired. You really want to make sure that you get your day started, but emotionally you can't handle it today. You're distracted, you're avoiding, you're not connected. Really, no states that I want to travel to. Here in the US, I've been in most of them. So I'm not really interested in traveling in the US. I do international travel. And so, I look forward to those moments, okay? To answer some of the questions that I see popping up in the chat. And so, what about have you guys? Now, I was never this person. If you guys looked at my channel, I've lost over 170 pounds because there was a time in my life where I was a caregiver and I was so stressed out that I thank you so much, Province. I really appreciate it. I was so stressed out with caregiving, I overate. I overate constantly. I couldn't get myself together. Now, I have friends when they get stressed, they don't eat, right? So, either way, when we're having emotional days, when we're having an emotional month, an emotional, year, a life that's full of emotion and stress, it could cause us to overeat or simply not eat. I was always different than my friends. When I was going through my divorce, I literally overate because food became my dependent because I was emotional. And I don't know if you guys have been through something like that, but to wake up one day and go, you know what, this is not healthy. This is not where I want to be. I need to make some changes. Hi, Luxury Sakura. How are you? Once again, if I didn't say it to those who are just hopping on, thank you so much for joining me on this Monday Live. I really appreciate it. We got about 7 more minutes and we're going to work through this list. Sometimes you won't eat. Stress will do that to you. Sometimes it will do that to you. As referencing the caregiving, right, piece that I'm talking about, when we as caregivers are having emotional days, you eat a lot with, well, Province, I understand. That's where I was. I looked around one day after my divorce went through and I wonder what happened. I completely lost control, completely lost control. And so, what happens after that is you get an assessment of yourself and say, you know what? I need to see what I can do in order to keep moving forward. I need to see what I can do in order to grab hold of my emotions and make sure that I'm okay. Because as a caregiver, if I'm stressed out, if I'm overeating, if I'm skipping meals and going to the other extreme where I am not happy with what's going on, then guess what? I need to assess what's going on. I'm no longer divorced. I'm remarried. I'm remarried to a wonderful man that I'm totally, absolutely in love with. I'll be honest with you. There are no substitutes for me with him because he is truly my world. And so I'm happily married and you can find love after divorce, okay? And so as a doctor, you have your bad days, especially when you don't know what you're walking into, right? This person, it could be like a landmine. right? One day they're happy and you're happy and everything is wonderful. And then the next time you walk in, it's completely different. For those who've got to drop off Austin. Until later, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining the live this morning, this Monday morning. So, getting back to the caregiving and emotions, yeah, thank you for speaking truth, heaven on earth. As a doctor, you have your bad days. Yeah, you're going to. And so, when we walk into that situation, when we realize that, can you imagine how combustible it is if my patient is having a bad day? And then I'm having a bad day, ooh, that's not going to be a good combination, is it? It isn't. Good morning, Hills Queen Sanja. Good morning, good afternoon to you from India, from here in the States. How about that? Thank you so much for joining the live. And so it's so important to realize I'm stressed out beyond the max. I need to get a hold of myself. Sometimes I need to walk away. Maybe I need to have somebody else offer support that day. Maybe I need to literally just take some downtime. I'm from here in the States. Bye, Province. I'll see you later. Thank you for logging on this morning and have a wonderful week. And so, what I have to do is sit there and go, you know what? I'm emotionally stressed. Try not to eat up everything in the kitchen because, other people live here too, but also assess what's making me stress out. Also, assess what I need to do in order to make changes because I definitely don't want to reflect that onto my mom, who is the person I'm providing care for. When you talk to many caregivers and you start to understand the process and the role that they play, just like I'm sure heaven on earth will experience and can be honest about too, that stress that they feel, it takes its toll after time. It does. This is a hard responsibility. It's a weighty responsibility. Sometimes it's amazing that you can never get enough alone, calm time, struggling with finding work. I'm sorry about that, Luxury Sakura. I hope you're successful in your search for looking for a job. Sometimes when you are a caregiver, hey, Ollie, how you doing? You sometimes don't realize the toll that it's taking on your body. We as caregivers, if you're a parent and in that sandwich generation, like I've talked about before in other videos, sometimes I can take care of my children. When they were young, I got five, take care of all of them, right? Never have a problem taking care of a grown adult who at one time was your responsible strong parent, right? Or a relative or a friend, a family friend that was always strong. They were very independent. As an adult, they still have their own decisions and own mind on certain matters. It's a different nature altogether. And it's difficult. So you cannot go through this. I'm here in the States, God, LE Sports. Um, you cannot go through this and think that it's not going to take a toll on you. You can't. At some point, you will have to step away. And that's only being honest, guys. Let's be honest with each other. And so, one of the things, too, now I don't do this enough. I don't do this a lot. Thank you so much from New Zealand. Thank you so much for logging on. I don't do this a lot. But if you find yourself, people do Red Bulls. I don't do Red Bull. These energy drinks, because I've got to stay stimulated and I've got to get motivated and I got to, get myself together. You know, that's another indication that you're just pushing through. You're just pushing through. Now, I'm here in the States, and that's where we're going to leave. I'm on the East Coast in the United States. And so, what you have to do is realize that you're only pushing through because you're not having a good day. You're not having, the mental stability at that moment because you're emotional to continue to provide care. You're not. And so, you as a caregiver, you need to receive care. You need to take time out for yourself in order to receive care. Now, like I said, I had done a whole bunch of series on this. So if you guys want to go to my channel, subscribe because that's my shameless pitch, right? Subscribe to the channel. You can look at the rest of the videos on how you can recognize that you're having a bad day. The final thing is about using or seeing the lack of empathy in your care services. I understand that you as a patient feel bad. I empathize with you. And when I am healthy emotionally and mentally, I can use that to fuel providing caregiving services because I know you feel bad. I can see you feel bad. I hurt because you feel bad. But you ever have those days where that doesn't matter? Because you feel bad and you're not getting the care that you need, right? And so sometimes, and we're all human, we go through it. Sometimes the lack of empathy could be an indication that you're having an emotionally bad day. It can. And so, with all those things combined, the whole point of today is to realize that you, as a caregiver, need to continue to receive care yourself. You're going to have good days. You're not going to have good days. Every day is not going to be, songbird, peaches, and roses. It's not going to be that way. Unfortunately, you're going to have emotionally bad days yourself. Take care of yourself. And then to realize you're not going to have all the answers. None of us have all the answers. If I had all the answers, I'd write a book, and do you know how much money I would make if people bought it, right? And so what you want to do is make sure that you're okay. Forgive yourself for not having all the answers, looping back how we started with Motivational Monday. You guys have been absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for joining. I only do a half an hour because I jump on another social media channel and do a half an hour. And then your girl got to get to work because I work full time and I have other responsibilities. It's laundry day, it's chore day. So for everybody out there receiving and giving care, you got this week. I'll be back on either Wednesday or Thursday. You got this under control. You can do this week. You're not alone. Don't forget to go to my Etsy shop. There's several guides that are available if you're new to caregiving. The Caregiver's Guide, we got one about helping with final arrangements. It's on my Etsy shop, and you can look on my YouTube channel and get more information. And then take time out for yourself. What you do is so important, but you can't do it if you're not you. This is your girl, Essie, once again. Remember to like, follow, subscribe, tell other people about the channel. I'll be back on Wednesday or Thursday. Peace out. I'm done.